As our gift to you, we've got an amazing deal on survival food kits. Buy one, gift two. That's right, for a limited time, when you grab our best-selling 4-week emergency food kit, we'll include 2 1-week kits free to hand out as gifts. That's 4 weeks of emergency food for you, and 2 ready-to-give gifts for anyone on your list who's into preparedness, or anyone who needs a nudge in that direction. But they're only available for a limited time. Grab yours at mypatriotsupply.com and give the gift of food security this Christmas. With 2,000 calories per day, 16 delicious meal and snack varieties, and up to 25-year shelf life, it's no wonder our 4-week food kit is the best-selling emergency food supply of all time. But the buy one, gift two Christmas special won't last long. So claim yours now at mypatriotsupply.com. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Black men are the most likely Americans to die from lung cancer, and black people develop the disease earlier in life than others. Federal guidelines have nearly doubled the number of black Americans eligible for lung cancer screening. Insurance companies are required to cover these tests for those ages 50 to 80 who smoke or used to smoke. If that's you, talk to a doctor about lung cancer screening. For more information and to find a screening center near you, visit acr.org/mylcs. That's acr.org/mylcs.
Furnished by American.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams, your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
The Armstrong Advisory Group understands retirement planning, and when it comes to married couples, it can be about more than money. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong, and our new guide called Retirement Planning for Spouses tackles many issues that couples face as they're preparing for later life. This guide keeps things simple, focusing on important matters such as making sure both partners understand where their money's coming from in retirement, being aware of scams, how to stay organized if one spouse outlives the other, and ways to handle gifts, donations, or legacy goals as a team. It's a straightforward look at the steps every couple can take to feel confident about retirement. Call the Armstrong Advisory Group right now at 800-393-4001 to get your free copy of Retirement Planning for Spouses. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there have been major changes with the Massachusetts exemption amounts. What is the new exemption for the state? Does that mean that a married couple living in Massachusetts with $4 million in assets could eliminate their estate taxes?
So, yes, there has been some changes. Now we're almost a full year in, of course, heading into a second year into the change. The change is now $2 million. It used to be $1 million for estate tax exemption. Now it's up to $2 million. And yes, if you are married, but you actually do trust planning, you can shelter $4 million. But folks, that doesn't mean that's all you do. For folks with $3 million that want to eliminate taxes, we can do that. But we can also think about protecting assets from the cost of long-term care. It allows us to do both a little easier now with a higher estate tax exemption. So think about ways in which you can use the irrevocable trust to not only shelter and be able to reduce your estate tax by sheltering up to $2 million on the death of each spouse, but also starting that important 5-year waiting period running to protect those assets from the cost of long-term care.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide. It's called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. You can call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Marc Fandetti. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Marc Fandetti.
Chuck, Mark, Tucker with you here, and the day after the jobs report, we open our show today with a piece from the Wall Street Journal. Spooked by AI and layoffs, white-collar workers see their security slip away. The subheader, office workers are hanging on to their jobs for dear life. Let's discuss, Mark. Your thoughts?
Well, the main fact cited by the author is that the unemployment rate among the meat of the labor force, people in their mid-20s to their mid-50s, has gone up. But that's about the amount by which it's gone up is not much different than the amount by which the overall unemployment rate has increased.
No.
So I wasn't as startled by that little statistic. Maybe I had it in the back of my mind somewhere as the author of this piece is. Look, we should all be, I guess, a little bit concerned. I mean, you've pointed out many times that the unemployment rate can be persistent. So once it starts to go up, it tends to continue to.
So I have two divergent thoughts here. The first is that I am a little concerned about where the labor market seems to be right now, because the data from yesterday was not great. It just there's no way to sugarcoat it. It was not a good jobs report. The counter to that is twofold. Number one, the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with a published statement the day before that basically said, hey, you might see some bigger swings in the jobs report than normal, and here's why. It has to do with the way that they do their sampling and how different cohorts are grouped, and basically which month samples get included in November, given that there was no October sample collected from households. And so that's one piece that, you look at this and you say, okay, I need to take this with a grain of salt. The other is that the sample collection period for this pretty much began like right after the shutdown. And so there's a decent chance that at least some respondents may have been responding to their employment status during the shutdown rather than after, because they may have been, temporarily furloughed or laid off by a government contractor or anything, and any one of these, number of things. And so, like, just as an example, when I see the underemployment rate, the U6, jump from 8% to 8.7% in a span of 2 months, not one, because now we're going to have this gap in October that we have to fill in every chart from now on, which doesn't make me feel great about it, but it is what it is. When I see the underemployment rate go from 8 to 8.7 in a span of 2 months, it means one of two things. Either A, something a little wild happened with the data sampling, which is an acknowledged possibility, or the labor market worsened significantly in a span of 2 months, which is not reassuring. It's one of those two things. Those are the only two explanations.
This is the frustrating thing about economic data. It's all sampled, which means you have a so-called confidence interval, the same plus or minus you get when you look at a political poll. The candidates could be tied, or one could be up by 5. We don't really know. We can't ask the whole population, are you working?
We could. They just wouldn't answer.
Yeah, I guess, right?
But when's the last time you responded to a text message from, hey, I'd like to ask you some questions about this?
Yeah.
No, I'd rather not, all else being equal.
Look at how long the census takes to clean. They do it, and it takes years to get the data into the shape where it could be consumed by people who use data for professional reasons. I guess my point is we never really know what the rate of unemployment is, so we have to look at the change and the magnitude of the change, the direction of the change. And on top of all that, Chuck, if you're the Federal Reserve, which is probably why most people care, in addition to caring about the
their own job prospects and things like that.
Thank you. Yeah. We're wondering, what's the Fed going to do? Should it be lowering, standing pat, or raising interest rates? What is phrased differently, because the unemployment rate is a pretty good indicator of whether or not the economy is running too hot. Empirically, it's lined up pretty well over time. We come up with this concept of a non-accelerating inflationary rate of unemployment, which historically was thought to be somewhere between 5 and 6. It went down when the baby boomers came into the workforce and other demographic changes pushed it down in the 1990s. Maybe my point is maybe it's going up again. Maybe the non-accelerating rate is now 5 again. Maybe it's 5.5, which it was throughout the 1980s. We don't really know, Chuck.
And so I think ultimately, again, we always say, like, look, don't pay attention to any one report because because of the issues that we've talked about with sampling and estimation. Like, one report doesn't mean anything. Here's what we do know. When you look at the job openings and labor turnover survey, the JOLTS report shows a consistent weakening in the labor market for the last 3.5 years. When you look at the jobs report that we are talking about now, the one prepared by the BLS, a consistently weakening labor market for the last 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. When you look at private reports from Indeed and ADP and Paychex, a consistently weakening labor market for the last 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. There has been no acceleration or deceleration in that. It's been pretty linear, which is kind of interesting because generally, when you have a labor market that decelerates in linear fashion, it usually does so for maybe a year to year and a half, and then something breaks and it either gets markedly worse or something doesn't break and things start to improve. We don't really have straight lines down and to the right in labor market data historically.
Is it weakening? And I would have used the same word as you did. And this question is rhetorical. I don't have the answer. Or is it normalization following an abnormally tight labor market in the aftermath of COVID? That's the question in the back of my mind. You have a thought.
I do. From my perspective, which is worth, I don't know,
as much as anybody else's.
If it was a penny for the average person's thoughts, mine would be half a penny, but due to inflation, it's still a penny. That's how I look at it.
I think I follow you.
My mind is overvalued in dollar terms, I think. Whatever. In any case, my thought is that 22 and 23 represented the normalization from 21. Okay, 2022 and 23 were the normalization of an abnormally hot labor market. And the way that I get there is completely unscientific. The way that I get there is basically, hey, when you got into 2024, the start of 24, unemployment, okay, it was back at 4% basically, which historically is kind of where we viewed as like that's like the low that we've gotten to historically.
In the modern era, yeah.
And so I kind of looked at it, I'm like, okay, we've normalized to, the lowest normal reading.
I got to say, though, relative to the broader sweep of history, 4% it was only realized a couple of times. In any other era, 4% would have been a 5-alarm fire for the Fed.
Totally get that. I look at the end of the 2000s, just end of the 90s.
I know. And that's why I qualify it within the modern era.
We were there. And so I basically say, okay, if we reach the lowest reading before here, yes, we've at least reached a normal threshold. I look just at another example, the ratio of openings to unemployed people, which was around 1.17 in Q1 of 24. Heading into 2020, just before the pandemic, it was 1.16. So again, it was at pre-pandemic levels. There is what I look at, and so I kind of view like, hey, the economy had normalized by the end of 23 as far as the labor market is concerned.
But even then, the normalization, and I know you know this, it is a moving target. COVID changed the way people...
Totally. Yeah.
So what if, and again, question in the back of my mind, don't know the answer. What if the natural rate, which is synonymous with the non-inflationary rate, what if it's been pushed up by the changing composition of the workforce, millennials coming in, different ethic, different view of work and life and balance, boomers going out, and other forces constricting immigration? All of these things put upward pressure on increase people's wage expectations potentially and change the structure of the economy in ways we can't know in real time.
So the reason that I push back on those, and again, like this is why we have these conversations, is because, by the way, anyone listening, like neither Marc nor I are right. Like we don't know
there's
if
no
we're
right
right. Like,
here,
there is no right on this. If we look at a whole bunch of supplemental measures of wage growth, it's continued cooling over the last year or two. Like you look at the Atlanta Fed wage tracker, you look at Paychex and their small business wage tracker, you look at aggregate payroll growth. We've seen a continued cooling in wage growth over the last couple of years. It has not inflected up, which is what you would expect to see if it's something where, there are those pressures on the labor market that you're describing.
For me, the game, set, and match, and this is like an empirical question. Labor economists will wrangle with this for years. So like you said, we're not going to settle anything. These are like, what we're doing is fleshing out some of the high-level potential causes, and then someone with a specialist would dig in empirically.
The real nerds dig in on this
Someone with
get
a
the
PhD,
answer.
a PhD academic, will dig in on. They're doing this right now, and they have been doing it for decades because these are all moving targets.
Let's take a quick break here. When we return, let's talk a little bit about what we are seeing in energy markets right after this.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Subscribe to our page and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Armstrong Advisory Group understands retirement planning, and when it comes to married couples, it can be about more than money. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong, and our new guide called Retirement Planning for Spouses tackles many issues that couples face as they're preparing for later life. This guide keeps things simple, focusing on important matters such as making sure both partners understand where their money's coming from in retirement, being aware of scams, how to stay organized if one spouse outlives the other, and ways to handle gifts, donations, or legacy goals as a team. It's a straightforward look at the steps every couple can take to feel confident about retirement. Call the Armstrong Advisory Group right now at 800-393-4001 to get your free copy of Retirement Planning for Spouses. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. When the holidays roll in and the cold settles over New England, find your escape in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Trade the freezing temps and gray skies for warm sun, turquoise water, and that easy island energy you can feel the second you land. This December through early January, St. Croix ignites with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a celebration over a century old. Frederiksted comes alive with colorful parades, live reggae, and streets filled with the sights and flavors of real Caribbean culture. It's the holiday season with a tropical beat. From there, explore St. Thomas with its duty-free shopping and the legendary views at Maggins Bay. Or slow down on St. John, where quiet beaches and national park trails make every day feel like your own private adventure. Getting there could not be easier. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Just pack light and step out of the cold into pure sunshine. This holiday season, let yourself fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit America's Caribbean paradise, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. If you're retired or getting close, now's the perfect time to take a fresh look at your estate plan. Doing your planning early can help you protect your assets and keep more of your wealth in your family. Cushing & Dolan, the leaders in elder law and taxation, have put together a new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. And in it, you'll learn how to secure your assets if you ever need long-term care, how to avoid having everything tied up in probate, and how to get a clearer picture of your estate tax exposure. The guide also breaks down real options that may help you reduce or even eliminate your estate taxes when you plan the right way and plan early. Whether you have an existing estate plan or starting from scratch, this guide makes it easy to understand what steps could help you and your family in the long run. To get your free copy, call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Breaking business and financial news first throughout the day. Only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Planning is well underway for the 2026 DAV 5K. And if you weren't able to attend this year's race but would still like to help our great American heroes, please visit dav5k.boston and make a donation. Your participation helps provide vital services like free transportation to medical appointments and safe housing for single veterans and their families. Donate today at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
All right, let's talk a little bit about energy, just because everyone loves to be an energy expert when no one actually is. And look, energy markets have been kind of wild recently. You know, October, November saw nat gas, as an example, rise from $2.92 per million BTUs to $5.49, so almost doubling in a span of 2 months, and now has fallen back to $3.89. So you've just been seeing like wild swings in nat gas to the tune of, again, almost doubling in 2 months and then falling, 30% in a week, which is just not, stuff you normally see. When you take a look at oil, so I got to be honest here. You've got this piece here that's titled "Oil Rallies as Geopolitical Risks Mount from Russia to Venezuela." And it's true. Oil's up like 1.5% today. The counter is that on West Texas Intermediate, it's still down almost 10% in the last week and a half. So I'm not really buying the cover story here. Oil rallies as geopolitical risks mount. I'm not saying that, oil wouldn't see any shift there, but like it's just not matching up with what we've seen over the last, month or two in general. The other thing that I will tell you, though, is complacency around energy markets is probably at an all-time high. And the reason why I say that is, look, 2022, you had Russia invade Ukraine. And oil prices obviously spiked then, but subsequently have come down significantly in the 3.5 years since. Earlier this year, I think we all remember, back in June, Israel and Iran got into a rather heated tussle. You had explosions all throughout Iran. You had Iran, lobbing missiles back at Israel, explosions throughout Israel. Like, it was pretty gnarly. We also basically saw oil prices spike for about a week and then come right back to where they were before that. And so I do think that, and look, this gets talked about even in equity markets, but in commodity markets in particular, there's like this idea that, well, nothing ever happens. Like there's no, if you've tried to bet on geopolitics influencing commodity availability broadly over the last 15 years, really hasn't worked out for you. Like, just has not been a winning trade. And so there's a whole generation of traders out there who, they've said, I think this is going to happen. And by the way, like, they could have been betting this year on, I think oil's going to go up because of conflict between Israel and Iran. And then it went up for a week and came right back down. And I think there's some complacency because occasionally these things can go on longer and become more disruptive to energy markets. Just because they haven't in recent history could lead to some complacency that is, problematic in these markets, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know, and a researcher who specializes in this probably has the answer, how the advent of shale has impacted those dynamics, but my suspicion is it puts a natural kind of ceiling on it because when you get above 70, 80, this is probably very ignorant, but I'll just say more of those, the shale production increases because it becomes marginally more profitable, thus fixing the price problem. So more supply comes online from shale. I don't know if oil is less volatile or if it's traded in more of a band since the prominence of shale, but I wouldn't be surprised. I need to finish the second season of Landman, and then maybe I'll have an answer.
Just wait till you get to the third.
Wait a minute. What?
It's only on the second. That was the bit. that was the bit.
Okay.
The counter to this is that even like when you have these short-term spikes based on what the shale patch saw back in the 2010s, where they did say like, okay, like let's open it up and just drill, and then they basically got put out of business by Russia deciding, okay, you're going to drill, fine, we're going to drill more because we don't care about the price, and a whole bunch of oil companies in the U.S. went out of business. You just don't see a similar approach with recent spikes in price, and so I think it's something where, look, you've had a declining rig count in the U.S. since 2023, and ultimately, I'm just not sure how price sensitive they are in the short term because the projections that they're making are, okay, we're going to explore this for, a couple of years. Then we've got to get, the well in the ground, and we got to be able to make money from, 2028 through 2033 on this, because the other side effect of shale wells, or not side effect, but the other wrinkle with shale wells is the production degrades at a much more rapid rate than conventional production does. You lose a lot more production year over year than you do with traditional methods. And so you basically have to be able to say, okay, can I really make my money in that first 4 to 6 years as opposed to a 10 to 15 year lifespan that you would expect there. So ultimately, I look at, the headline, oil rallies as geopolitical risks mount from Russia to Venezuela. I honestly don't know which geopolitical risks will or will not matter to the oil market because I don't know which ones are going to represent a real long-term potential disruption. I I'm also just not convinced that. I mean, again, like again, even with the continued sanctioning of Russia and crackdowns on that side of things from an oil export perspective, you've still continued to see oil prices falling, largely, by the way, just because the Saudis and the rest of OPEC have continued to increase production to offset that. At a certain point, you run out of additional excess capacity in OPEC, but you're not quite there yet. So I guess where I get to on this is I'm not sure that this matters, but I know for sure you won't figure out if it matters by reading Bloomberg or the Wall Street Journal. Let's take a quick break. When we return, Todd Lutsky joins us for Ask Todd.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Did you outgrow your timeshare and now you want out? But you can't. You can't sell it, and you can't get out of the contract. Imagine trying to get out of your mortgage. That's what a timeshare is. You can't just call up the bank and say, I don't want to pay it anymore. But we may be able to help you do just that. Listen, a timeshare maybe for you once was a great thing, but now you don't use it much. And they are not easy to get rid of. Plus, you do have to pay for it every month. Qualified timeshare owners can get out of their contract legally and permanently without ruining your credit or even filing bankruptcy. And imagine, no more mortgage payment or fees. Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline qualification line now. It's free to learn more.
800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. 800-455-7967. That's 800-455-7967. Paid for by Timeshare Defense.
Nobody wants to think about estate taxes or nursing home costs. But if you want to protect your money, your home, and everything you've built, you've got to get ahead of it. That's where Cushing & Dolan come in. They're experts in estate planning and elder law, and they've just released a brand new free guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. This guide lays out practical ways to keep your assets safe, and yes, even reduce or completely eliminate your estate taxes. If you already have a plan but aren't sure what your risk looks like, or you've been meaning to start one, this guide gives you exactly what you need to take control. So don't wait. Call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get your free copy of their new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group. We have a new guide available this month titled Retirement Planning for Spouses. Mike, one of the challenges that spouses face is figuring out how to draw income in retirement and the way to optimize that income, given potentially multiple Social Security payments, portfolios, pensions. Where's a good place to start?
Yeah, of course, with a married couple, you have increased optionality about where your income comes from, which of course means increased complexity and all sorts of different decisions to be made. But yeah, first of all, you've got your Social Security. Depending on the work history of the couple, right, you might be talking about taking your own benefit. You could be taking benefits based on the working income of your spouse. There's no choice to be made there, but there is a choice to be made in terms of timing. When do we start those benefits? What's the age difference between the two of us? If there's a pension involved, what sort of survivorship benefit do we take? Do we consider life insurance as an alternative to that survivor benefit? And then, of course, your portfolio between Roth, traditional, and taxable brokerage accounts. There's a lot of decisions to be made on that side as well. So it's a lot of decision making to be made, and that's where having a good, firm plan about which income starts at what point based on our own life expectancies and taxes is really important.
Folks, the guide is titled Retirement Planning for Spouses, and there are two ways you can request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by visiting ArmstrongAdvisory.com. That phone number again is 800-393-4001, or request it at ArmstrongAdvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Time now for Wall Street Watch, a complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are mixed as the S&P 500 is looking to snap its three-day losing streak. Traders also keeping a close eye on the price of oil after President Trump ordered a blockade of sanctioned tankers entering and exiting Venezuela. Right now, the Dow is up nearly 0.3% or 137 points. S&P 500 is down over 0.1% or 8 points lower. NASDAQ down 1/3% or 75 points lower. Russell 2000 is up 0.7%. 10-year Treasury yield is flat, currently at 4.151%. Crude oil up nearly 2% higher, trading at $56.23 a barrel. Well, Warner Brothers Discovery's board unanimously recommended shareholders reject Paramount's hostile takeover bid, saying it believes the offer from Netflix for its studios and HBO Max streaming service is still superior. Netflix shares are climbing nearly 3%. Warner stock is dipping, and Paramount shares are falling 4%. Meanwhile, according to several media outlets, OpenAI is in discussions with Amazon about a potential $10 billion investment and agreement to use its AI chips. Amazon stock is up 1%. Elsewhere, home builder Lennar reported lower than expected earnings as the housing market remains stagnant. Lennar stock is down 4%. According to Bloomberg, bankrupt Spirit Airlines is in revived discussions to merge with Frontier. Shares in General Mills up 2% after the Cheerios maker reported better than expected results. And after today's close, we'll see more tech earnings from Micron. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch.
This is Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you have an existing estate plan or are in the market for one, Todd Lutsky is here to answer your questions and help you plan for later life. Ask Todd is presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 35 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Visit CushingDolan.com. Now, here's Todd Lutsky.
As promised, we've got Todd Lutsky with us here in studio for Ask Todd to answer your estate planning questions. This is your chance to ask those questions live on air right now, and we do have the phone lines open at 888-205-2263. Again, that number is 888-205-2263. So this is your chance if you've been thinking about getting, a sibling an irrevocable trust for Christmas. Here's your chance to talk to Todd and find out good idea, bad idea, or ugly idea. But again, 888-205-2263 is the number to call. Make sure you call early to get in line since we can usually only get through a couple of these. Mr. Lutsky, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Never really thought this was a Christmas present, but I like the idea. How are you doing?
Tough day for me.
I'm sure. It always is.
Had to fire my fruit delivery driver this morning.
Fruit delivery?
Yeah, had to let the man go.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Todd, I want to talk to you about asset protection. The way I see it, and maybe I'm wrong because you do this every day and I don't, there seem to be 3 different ways to deal with the cost of long-term care. Irrevocable trusts, long-term care insurance, and self-insuring. Is that accurate?
I would say yes.
In general, those are the main...
I would think so, yeah. Those are the really only 3 things you can do.
How does someone go about figuring out which is the right instrument for their situation?
So if you're thinking about irrevocable versus insurance versus self-insure.
Yeah.
It's not just limited to this question, Chuck. I think it's great. I think when you talk about estate planning in general, where do you begin? Value, value, value. What's the size of your estate? How much are you worth? I mean, I think that's one of the first fundamental things you need to think about when you're doing estate planning. So you sit down and let's apply it to all of these. You sit down and you say, I need to do estate planning. Okay. Do I need an irrevocable trust or a revocable trust? First question. Well, how much are you worth? Oh, I'm worth $10 million. Okay. Pretty sure you probably don't need nursing home planning. Why? Because I'm self-insured. I've got $10 million. I'm generating, 7%. That's $700,000 a year in income. I'm good. I can pay for the nursing home. I'm self-insured, which also means I don't need an irrevocable Medicaid trust.
But there might be other planning needs, just not specifically on that end.
Right. So then you shift and you say, okay, well then I'm going to go with the revocable trust. Correct. And then we can talk about planning from a revocable perspective. So very helpful there. Next, let's come back with the answer being, well, geez, Todd, I'm worth about $4 million, and $1.5 million of that is my home, and I got maybe $500, in an IRA. I want to protect my assets from a nursing home.
Sure.
Oh, you're right. So now I don't need the revocable trust. I need an irrevocable trust, and we can go down and explore that at the meeting. But it also makes me think that's long-term care. I'm not self-insured. Cross that off. And I know that I don't want to just, I think irrevocable trust planning would be the other way. Let's say I'm too old. I'm 70. I can't get long-term care insurance. So that's out. I guess I'm stuck with irrevocable trust planning. I don't want to say stuck with. That's a good approach.
Sure.
Right? So I think looking at value of your estate is really what's going to drive not only the type of trust you need, but also how you might protect your assets from the nursing home if you get there. If you can insure yourself, great. I'd start, in my 50s looking for those policies because they're great. They do work. And, just got to make sure you can afford them.
Talking with Todd Lutsky from Cushing and Dolan. Studio line still has room on it at 888-205-2263. That is the number to call for you to ask Todd your estate planning questions live on air right now. Again, 888-205-2263. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to get right to your questions with Todd. That phone number is 888-205-2263. Again, it is 888-205-2263.
Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky every Wednesday at 10:30, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. When the holidays roll in and the cold settles over New England, find your escape in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Trade the freezing temps and gray skies for warm sun, turquoise water, and that easy island energy you can feel the second you land. This December through early January, St. Croix ignites with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a celebration over a century old. Frederiksted comes alive with colorful parades, live reggae, and streets filled with the sights and flavors of real Caribbean culture. It's the holiday season with a tropical beat. From there, explore St. Thomas with its duty-free shopping and the legendary views at Maggins Bay. Or slow down on St. John, where quiet beaches and national park trails make every day feel like your own private adventure. Getting there could not be easier. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Just pack light and step out of the cold into pure sunshine. This holiday season, let yourself fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit America's Caribbean paradise, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com. Nobody wants to think about estate taxes or nursing home costs. But if you want to protect your money, your home, and everything you've built, you've got to get ahead of it. That's where Cushing & Dolan come in. They're experts in estate planning and elder law, and they've just released a brand new free guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. This guide lays out practical ways to keep your assets safe, and yes, even reduce or completely eliminate your estate taxes. If you already have a plan but aren't sure what your risk looks like, or you've been meaning to start one, this guide gives you exactly what you need to take control. So don't wait. Call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and get your free copy of their new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
The Armstrong Advisory Group understands retirement planning, and when it comes to married couples, it can be about more than money. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong, and our new guide called Retirement Planning for Spouses tackles many issues that couples face as they're preparing for later life. This guide keeps things simple, focusing on important matters such as making sure both partners understand where their money's coming from in retirement, being aware of scams, how to stay organized if one spouse outlives the other, and ways to handle gifts, donations, or legacy goals as a team. It's a straightforward look at the steps every couple can take to feel confident about retirement. Call the Armstrong Advisory Group right now at 800-393-4001 to get your free copy of Retirement Planning for Spouses. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit GoRedForWomen.org today to learn more.
You're listening to Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
All right, we got a couple calls for you, Mr. Lutsky. First in the queue is Dan in Wellesley. Dan, you're on with Todd.
Hey, Todd. Good morning.
Good morning.
Question for you. My brother and I had our estates done by you and your firm in 2010. Great job. We're very comfortable.
Well,
but
thank
we
you.
need to do some sort of an update to take a look at what we have? Things really haven't changed too much. A little real estate appreciation, a little debt reduction, but pretty much overall, we got everything, the whole package from you, and I didn't know where we stood 15 years later.
Wow, 15 years, huh? Woo.
Yeah.
Good. Well, still here. That's good. A couple of things, obviously, I would need to ask you, just a couple of questions, but I think in general this is great for everybody listening because he's doing exactly what Dan's doing, exactly what I would think, you as other people who have done your estate plan, you might want to check in once in a while and see if anything needs to be changed. Might not, but a check-in couldn't hurt. So in this case, for you, Dan, I can at least speak to that. I forget, are you married?
Married. My brother and I, he's married. You did both of our estates together because a lot of the real estate is combined, and we did the insurance trust and the gifting and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got revocable trusts for you and your brother, for your families, and you've got irrevocable gifting trusts done, correct?
Everything you set up for us in 2010, right to the T. So I'm not positive 100%, but yes.
So in this regard, how much are you and your wife worth today? Round numbers.
Probably right about now, around 10 million, 11 million with all the real estate and our share and that type of thing.
So the good news is if we've done a revocable trust plan for you, with the exemption federally being now $15 million each, right? You and your wife, that's $30 million. Your plan can shelter $30 million. So I'm going to say, and if your brother's in a similar situation, I'm going to say that the revocable trust plan is working great from a estate tax standpoint federally. It also is drafted with a formula, so it automatically adjusted for the new Massachusetts estate tax exemption, which is now $2 million. So you and your spouse can shelter $4 million with your estate from the state estate tax. So whether you want to consider doing some, I don't know, residency changes, that's up to you. Because, you know, for Massachusetts, to the extent you're over $4 million, you are going to have a Massachusetts estate tax bite there. Now, Mass cannot tax out-of-state property, so if some of that $10 million is out-of-state, it would not be taxable here in Mass. So keep that in mind. And to the extent we've taken assets and put them in an irrevocable trust, they should not be included in this $10 million number. Did you do that when you gave me that number?
I did everything you said in 2010. To be honest with you, we haven't looked at it too much since. One of my last quick questions was, if I did move to New Hampshire, would that make any difference? Because all these properties are in Massachusetts and in their own trusts.
I think if you could spend 6 months in a day outside of the state, yes, you can make New Hampshire your residency. You don't have to be there 6 months in a day unless they require that for their residency, which I don't think they do. So as long as you're not 6 months in a day in this state, you could be anywhere else. You don't have to be there, but change your residency might be a great idea. If in fact you're still worth $10 million and that doesn't include what we gave away, right? That's the way I want it. Whatever's not in your estate, I shouldn't be in that $10 million number. But assuming that's the case and that's what you're worth, yeah, you have, 10 minus 4, 6, you figure 600,000 reasons to move. So that's a lot of reasons to become a resident. And if you want to do that of New Hampshire, please come in, sit down. I can explain to you all the things you have to do to accomplish that, including setting up LLCs if you don't for Massachusetts real estate, so it's not taxed in Mass, even though you're a non-resident. I actually did a seminar once called So You Think You Changed Your Residency. Get it? It's not so easy. But I can explain to you exactly how to do it. So sounds like you're probably in pretty good shape. So is your brother so going forward, except for maybe moving. That's an option. If you want to explore some more state estate tax reductions, we could sit down and talk. Or if you want to leave your assets differently to your children, we can sit down and talk about that. Otherwise, I think it's in good shape. Thanks for the call. Hope that was helpful. And folks, like Dan, call, get this guide. Balancing asset protection and avoiding estate taxes, right? It explains what this trust that Dan has works. Talks about portability, talks about marital shares and remainder shares. Folks, better than we can ever talk about it on the radio, right? It's a little more complex than that. The guide gives you the answers, gives you the charts, tells you how to calculate your own estate tax liability, and does it also for irrevocable trusts. Little something for everyone in this guide. See which trust is right for you. Call and get it. 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com. Again, 866-848-5699.
Todd, got another one for you here. Let's go to Rita in Shrewsbury. Rita, what's your question for Todd?
Oh, good morning. My question is, does the recent increase in support and access to home health care have any impact on the need for nursing home care?
That's an interesting question. So when you say the increase in home health care, are you talking about insurance premiums or something?
No, I'm talking about services that you can, get for staying in your home when you're sick.
Okay. So these are what they call, community-based
Medicaid? I will try to answer it. I'm not an expert when it comes to community-based Medicaid. There are certain programs, a lot offered by individual communities, right? You got to find out if it's available, like frail elder care is one. There's different programs that are available for your community. You got to find out how much money is available. Generally, it's not a ton, but there could be some. And so certainly look into that and see if you can get community-based, Medicaid services for staying at the home. I agree with you that the programs themselves have expanded, which I think is wonderful. The idea of keeping people at home is exactly what we all want to do. And even the planning that we do for people is not designed to say, go to a nursing home. Do everything you can to stay at home. Now, that said, does that change? I think your question is, does that change the need to protect assets from the cost of long-term care if you cannot stay at home? I would say no. It really has no difference as to whether I would do that planning or not. If your goal is to say, I want to make sure this particular house gets to my family, or this vacation home gets to my family, if that's your goal, or I just want more of my assets available to my family, well, you can't really rely on community-based in-home care for that. Doesn't mean you can't apply for it. Try to get it. And by the way, getting it, if you have assets in these irrevocable trusts that you need to do to ensure those goals are met, might also help you become eligible for in-home services. I don't know what their asset limits are, but clearly if it's in the trust, it's not your asset. And so it should help you, get those those community-based services. So long-winded answer, but I think at the end of the day, the idea is I'm doing my planning because I want to protect assets for my family. This will do it. But also, you might need to do it to reduce estate taxes. If you're married and you want to double your exemption, these irrevocable trusts will do it. The guide explains that. And lastly, I'm doing it not just to protect and avoid probate and reduce taxes, but also I want a nice, easy streamline of my assets to my family so they can get it the way and when and how they should get it. So hopefully that helps.
Mr. Lutsky, thank you so much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
This has been Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky has been presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 30 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Call 800-393-4001 or visit CushingDolan.com. The views expressed in this segment are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Armstrong Advisory does not provide any legal or tax advice. Please consult with your legal or tax advisor on such matters. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Still more to come in hour two. We're going to be previewing Micron Technology's earnings and what it may say about what's going on in the tech space, specifically AI-related tech space. Also, latest updates on the Warner Brothers, Paramount, Netflix triangle. What's going on there. And then we are also going to be joined by Mike Simonson. He's the chief economist at Compass. He's going to be giving his 2026 housing market outlook and forecast. Mike always has some really interesting information for us, and we will talk to him next.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
We're proud to announce that Circle K is now the official convenience store of the DAV Department of Massachusetts. At Circle K, supporting those who bravely served our country isn't just a commitment, it's a heartfelt mission. Circle K is honored to stand with the DAV Department of Massachusetts to ensure that veterans receive the care and recognition they deserve. If you'd like to do your part, please visit davma.org. Thank you for standing with Circle K and the DAV Department of Massachusetts, and thank you, veterans, for all you've done.
New Englanders love the Caribbean, and now there's a Caribbean travel channel available for you to learn all about Caribbean culture while you're planning your next trip to your favorite island. The TravelShareIt.com marketplace is loaded with information about the arts, festivals, food, and music throughout the Caribbean, and is an interactive website featuring daily travel deals to any island of your choice. Book your next Caribbean vacation on the most comprehensive travel channel for the islands, TravelShareIt.com. That's TravelShareIt.com.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
We're proud to announce that Circle K is now the official convenience store of the DAV Department of Massachusetts. At Circle K, supporting those who bravely served our country isn't just a commitment, it's a heartfelt mission. Circle K is honored to stand with the DAV Department of Massachusetts to ensure that veterans receive the care and recognition they deserve. If you'd like to do your part, please visit davma.org. Thank you for standing with Circle K and the DAV Department of Massachusetts, and thank you, veterans, for all you've done.
When the holidays roll in and the cold settles over New England, find your escape in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Trade the freezing temps and gray skies for warm sun, turquoise water, and that easy island energy you can feel the second you land. This December through early January, St. Croix ignites with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a celebration over a century old. Frederickstead comes alive with colorful parades, live reggae, and streets filled with the sights and flavors of real Caribbean culture. It's the holiday season with a tropical beat. From there, explore St. Thomas with its duty-free shopping and the legendary views at Maggins Bay. Or slow down on St. John, where quiet beaches and national park trails make every day feel like your own private adventure. Getting there could not be easier. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Just pack light and step out of the cold into pure sunshine. This holiday season, let yourself fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit America's Caribbean paradise, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visit usvi.com. If you're retired or getting close, now's the perfect time to take a fresh look at your estate plan. Doing your planning early can help you protect your assets and keep more of your wealth in your family. Cushing & Dolan, the leaders in elder law and taxation, have put together a new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. And in it, you'll learn how to secure your assets if you ever need long-term care, how to avoid having everything tied up in probate, and how to get a clearer picture of your estate tax exposure. The guide also breaks down real options that may help you reduce or even eliminate your estate taxes when you plan the right way and plan early. Whether you have an existing estate plan or starting from scratch, this guide makes it easy to understand what steps could help you and your family in the long run. To get your free copy, call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled Retirement Planning for Spouses. Mike, one of the things that I think is really important to focus on are some of the tax planning items that spouses need to consider basically every single year, especially if there are any kind of age differences between two spouses.
Yeah, real life example here. I was working with somebody recently who spouse just retired, and they were trying to figure out where their income is going to come from this year, and the idea of taking some money out of the IRA came up. And so it was a decision, whose do we take it out of, whose is bigger? And the decision ultimately was, we're going to go with the older spouse here because they are going to commence their required minimum distributions earlier.
And so when you're trying to formulate those decisions, whether it's an RMD that you need to consider or potentially, Roth conversions, it's something where the decisions you make one year can have lasting impacts 10, 20 years down the road, depending on the family.
They most certainly can. Again, when you have a married couple, there's increased options in terms of what to do, but that means increased complexity. Things like the widower's tax when you lose a spouse, especially if there's a big age difference down the road. These are things that you can and should plan for because they can make an immense difference in the success of your retirement strategy.
Folks, the guide is titled Retirement Planning for Spouses, and there are two ways you can request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by visiting ArmstrongAdvisory.com. That phone number again is 800-393-4001, or request it at ArmstrongAdvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Marc Fandetti. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Marc Fandetti.
Chuck, Mark, and Tucker with you, and look, I got to tell you, normally year-end is pretty quiet. When we start getting these little wiggles heading into year-end, it makes my antenna perk up a little bit, only because, again, just looking at recent history, and I'm not doing anything other than that, but just as an example, you take a look at, the last several years, and the end of 2021, just as an example, we saw a couple wiggles in, I think it was late. We saw one in September. We saw one in November and one in December. And each of them were like 5 to 7% pullbacks, and then 2022 turned kind of ugly. And you take a look at 22, and the end of 22, you had this rally that started in October is where markets bottomed there. There was a little bit of chop, but then ultimately it was okay. We're on our way, and 2023 was all clear. No weird wiggles at the end of 23 at all. 24, again, a couple weird wiggles. One in late November, one in late December. Markets made new all-time highs in January and February, but were wiggling the whole way, and then March and April were rather ugly. And so I just can't help but think when you start to get weird stuff happening at the end of a calendar year, and by weird I just mean volatility, because there are mechanical reasons why the end of the year tends to be less volatile. The biggest one simply being you have 2.5 fewer trading days for stuff to go wrong. And that has all kinds of implications for volatility calculations, using the VIX, which focuses on a 30 calendar day period, not trading day period. And so when I start to see little wiggles happening at the end of the year, it perks my antenna up just a little bit. So today, nothing big, but again, just a wiggle. You got the S&P off about 0.5%, 39 points. The NASDAQ, again, kind of in dangerous territory, down another 1%, about 280 points or so. And so you've got, tech stocks not really able to make new highs. And here's the problem for the last couple of years. When tech stocks have not been able to lead, the stuff that tries to take the baton has not been successful doing it. I know we all want like a broad rally and everything, but today as an example, there are 106 more S&P 500 stocks up right now than down right now. And the S&P is down 37 points because, the big ones, Oracle down 5%, Broadcom down 5%, Nvidia down 3%, Google down 2%, Tesla down 2%. You can't rally when you have like 30% of the index down 2+%. It's just mathematically really challenging for Chipotle and, Marriott to make it up. Like they can't do it. So I think that ultimately you've got a market right now that's chopping some wood, and the big question is these AI data centers. Like that is, I don't want to say the only thing that matters, but we've had lots of other questions the last couple of years, and really like the AI piece, every time AI's gotten in trouble, we've had issues with markets.
There's a lot. You've said this. You and Mike Armstrong have said this. There's a lot hanging on AI, the economic story, the stock market story. I've never seen... that sounds pretentious. Okay. Late 90s, the bet was a little more diverse. It was tech, but it seemed a little bit more diversified. Everybody is hanging their every and most ardent hope on AI working out for economic growth, for stock returns, solving all society's ills. I mean, you name it. AI, whatever that means to who's ever making the claim, is got a lot of heavy lifting to do.
So you've got, again, stock indices off modestly today. You've got the 10-year Treasury, 10-year Treasury is up 6 basis points. No, sorry, 0.6 of a basis point to 4.155% right now. So you've got yields moving up, again, very modestly, nothing big, but they've been in a little bit of an uptrend for the last week or two. And so that's also a reason why, look, quite honestly, I don't really buy that like small caps and more cyclical sectors can lead when yields are moving up, because historically they just don't. It's not how it really works. Dollar index up 0.12% to 97.91. Gold is up 29.40 an ounce to 43.61 70 cents. Crude oil, West Texas Intermediate, up 85 cents a barrel to 56.12. The AAA national average for gas prices sliding another 0.2 of a cent to 2.90 5 at the moment. Let's see. Let's go right to talking about AI here. We've got Micron reporting earnings after the bell today. When you talk about Micron, they are primarily a memory chip producer. And they specialize in something called high bandwidth memory, which is memory that is high in bandwidth. Is it not? That's what I gather. Tells you how much I know about, the specifics of it. The interesting thing with Micron, memory prices have moved up dramatically this year to the point where you're actually seeing projections now for non-AI computer sales falling next year because memory costs have pushed the prices of PCs and other related equipment up as a result of all this memory demand from AI. So the question for Micron, I think, is twofold: is look, what do you see, your AI business looking like? And then what about everything else? Because that non-AI computer business is starting to come under threat because of how high memory prices are being driven by AI spending. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have a lot. I just don't have anything to add here. Is this...
You a big memory guy?
What do they make, the RAM? I'm sorry for my ignorance here. Do they make the RAM chips that I put in my computer when I need to beef it up? Is that
basically? Okay,
so that's the active memory, as opposed to the processors that do the tasks
correct.
that I'm executing?
They are not a processor manufacturer.
Okay. So when I tell my computer to do something, that goes to my Intel chip or my AMD chip. That's when you add 1 plus 1.
They are
that's
memory,
your processor.
hard drives, flash memory, solid state drives. That's Micron's bread and butter.
So
that's
if I'm coding and I save it, and this may not mean anything, but you save an object, that gets saved in your RAM, your sort of short-term memory that the computer needs to access quickly. It can't go digging around for it because you're going to draw on the object you just saved quickly.
And the same thing is needed in AI because obviously you want to be able to pull that.
So that's the relationship to the AI frenzy.
Yes. Correct. There's a lot of memory that's needed because you're moving an awful lot of data back and forth in these neural networks that the AI processors use or that they make up.
Okay.
So Micron actually a couple weeks ago, they have a sub-brand called Crucial, which is a horrible name. How can you just name any brand Crucial? That just sounds kind of pretentious. They actually announced that their consumer-facing brand. They were halting sales of that next year. They're closing the brand down because they don't have enough stuff to sell anymore because AI is taking all the volume. Let's take a quick break. Mike Simonson, chief economist at Compass, joins us right after this talking about the 2026 housing market outlook.
The Financial Exchange is live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132, weekdays from 11 to noon. Get the latest business and financial news from across the country and around the world, and keep up to date on how it might affect your wallet. That's the Financial Exchange, weekdays from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you're retired or getting close, now's the perfect time to take a fresh look at your estate plan. Doing your planning early can help you protect your assets and keep more of your wealth in your family. Cushing & Dolan, the leaders in elder law and taxation, have put together a new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes. And in it, you'll learn how to secure your assets if you ever need long-term care, how to avoid having everything tied up in probate, and how to get a clearer picture of your estate tax exposure. The guide also breaks down real options that may help you reduce or even eliminate your estate taxes when you plan the right way and plan early. Whether you have an existing estate plan or starting from scratch, this guide makes it easy to understand what steps could help you and your family in the long run. To get your free copy, call Cushing & Dolan at 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. When the holidays roll in and the cold settles over New England, find your escape in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Trade the freezing temps and gray skies for warm sun, turquoise water, and that easy island energy you can feel the second you land. This December through early January, St. Croix ignites with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a celebration over a century old. Frederiksted comes alive with colorful parades, live reggae, and streets filled with the sights and flavors of real Caribbean culture. It's the holiday season with a tropical beat. From there, explore St. Thomas with its duty-free shopping and the legendary views at Maggins Bay. Or slow down on St. John, where quiet beaches and national park trails make every day feel like your own private adventure. Getting there could not be easier. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Just pack light and step out of the cold into pure sunshine. This holiday season, let yourself fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit America's Caribbean paradise, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
The Armstrong Advisory Group understands retirement planning. And when it comes to married couples, it can be about more than money. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong, and our new guide called Retirement Planning for Spouses tackles many issues that couples face as they're preparing for later life. This guide keeps things simple, focusing on important matters such as making sure both partners understand where their money's coming from in retirement, being aware of scams, how to stay organized if one spouse outlives the other, and ways to handle gifts, donations, or legacy goals as a team. It's a straightforward look at the steps every couple can take to feel confident about retirement. Call the Armstrong Advisory Group right now at 800-393-4001 to get your free copy of Retirement Planning for Spouses. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Hey, listen, are you a 50-year-old person looking for term life insurance? Then you need to talk to Bob. Bob specializes in helping people find $1 million or more of term life insurance for a couple of $100 a month. Look, you need to know there's a price war in the term life insurance business, and you may be paying too much. Call Bob, and he'll shop and see how much money he can save you. Look, this could be the last term life insurance policy you ever have. Your rates are guaranteed for the next 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rates for the next 20 years. And if you're a smoker or your health is not perfect, Bob has great rates for you too. So for $1 million of term life insurance coverage for a couple of $100 a month, call Bob right now. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. 800-965-7987. That's 800-965-7987. Paid for by Term Direct.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is powered by Circle K Convenience Stores. Circle K is now the official convenience store of the DAV Department of Massachusetts. On behalf of Circle K, thank you, veterans, for all you've done.
As promised, we're now joined by Mike Simonson. He is the chief economist at Compass, who recently published their 2026 housing market outlook and forecast. Mike, I appreciate you joining us today. How you doing?
Jack, it's always great to be here.
Absolutely. Mike, can you give our listeners a quick summary of let's talk home prices next year? What are expectations for kind of the range that we could fall in?
So we're expecting home prices nationally to be pretty close to flat next year, up maybe just 0.5% across the country on average. That's down from recent pace of 4% or 5% or even much more a few years ago. So the price expectations are really flat for the coming year.
Is this a continuation of the inventory growth story that we've seen this year, or is there something else afoot?
No, that's really it. We've had inventory growth for almost 4 straight years now, and there's a lot more homes available on the country as a whole. That varies locally, but because there are more homes available across the country, the price implications are starting to be more national. So even though inventory is tight in the Northeast and prices are holding up better in the Northeast than say Florida or across the Sun Belt, the inventory is ample, sufficiently big that there are no upward pressures on prices really across the country.
The inventory growth that we've seen throughout the Southeast, now over to the Southwest and the West Coast, is that inventory growth expected to come to the Midwest and Northeast over the next year or two, or are there other factors that will prevent it from happening?
There is a little bit of inventory growth finally happening. So, for example, in the New York tri-state area, is about 10% more homes on the market now than a year ago. So a little bit of that growth is happening. In general, we're still very restricted mobility. In other words, we're still not doing much of the north to south move. Because hiring is really slow. We are not, for example, quitting our job in Connecticut to move to Orlando to buy a home and get a new job in Orlando. We're not doing that move nearly as much, and therefore inventory stays tight in the Northeast and Midwest, and is still growing in the South. So that trend is still basically underway. If we're lucky this year and maybe lower interest rates help spur corporate hiring, maybe that mobility starts to move up. We've been delaying those moves for 4 years now, so maybe that starts to loosen up a little bit.
Mike, when we look at the Southeast and Southwest, this is the area of the country that's seen, pretty robust inventory growth. It's also the area of the country that tends to have the most construction. Is it a fair read-through that if builders are now forced to compete with more inventory, they're going to be coming under more pressure?
Yeah, I think that's true. Builders have had a real advantage for several years in terms of pricing and in terms of interest rates, buy downs, and that appears to be softening a little bit because there is enough existing supply on the market that price competition can go back and forth. You have the trade-off. So across the Sun Belt, we have ample inventory all the way across any of those markets like Phoenix or Denver or the Texas markets across Florida and Georgia, like there's ample inventory across the Sun Belt, such that that you can see those pressures happening to across all. Now, there's nothing in the data that says massive price declines, but the flat and slightly down in some markets, down pretty notably, is common.
When we look at sales volume, historically, I've always been told inventory leads to sales, and that's kind of what we've seen in general. The last couple of years, despite higher inventory, sales have kind of been stuck at this, 4 million annual unit pace for existing home sales. Is 26 the year that we finally start to see a little bit of a tick up in sales volume?
Yeah, we think so. We look at 2026 as really the start of the next phase of the housing market. So the last phase, the last era has been the last 4 years. Home sales have been very slow, stuck around 4 million, deep freeze. And home prices have pushed relentlessly higher. So affordability has been getting worse, sort of intractably worse. What we're seeing for 2026 is that inventory is now ample enough that sales can increase. So, for example, if inventory increases by 10% in the New York metro area, that means sales can increase in that area. And inventory is already higher in Florida, and the weekly pending sales numbers, so watching the homes going into contract each week in Florida, are up about 10 or 15% each week now over 2024. So that's partly a function of having more homes on the market. So we can see 2026 as maybe a 4 or 5% growth from, say, 4.1 million pace to 4.25 million pace. Not a massive growth, but growth across the country, and that's encouraging for the industry.
Mike, when we go through different publications out there, inevitably I come across something that says, "Oh, foreclosures are going up, and this is a problem." And I tell our listeners, look, it's off a very low baseline rate, and this isn't something that's going to be the proximate cause of any real problem. For you, someone who's actually in this industry and understands way better than I do, is that a fair view to have, or are there actually problems building on the foreclosure side of things?
You're going to hear in 2026, I think, a lot of headlines about foreclosures increasing and new highs or more foreclosures, and you're going to hear those headlines. And I think your perspective is exactly right, Chuck. It's like those we're still have very few people who are of any amount of distress on their mortgage. We still have most of the country has ultra cheap mortgages. But as we go on, there are now 10 million people who have mortgages over 6%. And those people, when you lose your job, are much more likely to go into a distressed scenario than if you have a rate under 3%. And so there are more people, so that you can imagine that as, for example, the employment rate deteriorates and we get a weakening jobs market, which is currently seems to be underway, that would result in some of those folks having more foreclosure process, more delinquency, and those metrics, we should expect them to climb. For the most part, it is isolated parts of the market. FHA loans where you have very low down payments and lower income qualifications, those have elevated levels, like 10% of those borrowers are in some sort of distress, but that's 15% of the market. So it's like 1% of borrowers are in that any form of distress. It's rising, but it's not that much.
Very good. Mike, appreciate you joining us. As always, great information for our listeners. Hope you have a great finish to the year and look forward to chatting with you in 2026.
Thanks, Chuck. Look forward to it.
That is Mike Simonson, the chief economist at Compass, talking about their 2026 housing market outlook and forecast. As we head to the bottom of the hour, Dow Jones Industrial Average is off 40 points. The S&P also off 40 points, but hey, the S&P is off 0.5%. The Dow's off 0.1%. NASDAQ is off north of 220 points right now, about 1%. And so you've got a slide in markets today. This would be 4 down days in a row, but still only a couple percentage points off all-time highs from last week's Thursday close. So that's where we stand right now. Quick break. When we come back, we've got trivia after this.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up because we have something better,
stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit goredforwomen.org today to learn more.
When the holidays roll in and the cold settles over New England, find your escape in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Trade the freezing temps and gray skies for warm sun, turquoise water, and that easy island energy you can feel the second you land. This December through early January, St. Croix ignites with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a celebration over a century old. Frederiksted comes alive with colorful parades, live reggae, and streets filled with the sights and flavors of real Caribbean culture. It's the holiday season with a tropical beat. From there, explore St. Thomas with its duty-free shopping and the legendary views at Maggins Bay. Or slow down on St. John, where quiet beaches and national park trails make every day feel like your own private adventure. Getting there could not be easier. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Just pack light and step out of the cold into pure sunshine. This holiday season, let yourself fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit America's Caribbean paradise, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
The Armstrong Advisory Group understands retirement planning, and when it comes to married couples, it can be about more than money. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong, and our new guide called Retirement Planning for Spouses tackles many issues that couples face as they're preparing for for later life. This guide keeps things simple, focusing on important matters such as making sure both partners understand where their money's coming from in retirement, being aware of scams, how to stay organized if one spouse outlives the other, and ways to handle gifts, donations, or legacy goals as a team. It's a straightforward look at the steps every couple can take to feel confident about retirement. Call the Armstrong Advisory Group right now at 800-393-4001 to get your free copy of Retirement Planning for Spouses. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today, we're talking about estate tax reduction and asset protection strategies that can help reduce or eliminate your estate taxes. Todd, there are some high net worth clients that would like to reduce the size of their estate, but they don't want to give up access to their assets. Is there anything they can do?
There certainly is, folks. So this is a combination of things. One, you obviously want to do your basic estate planning first. Get your foundation in place, the basic revocable trust planning to help utilize whatever exemptions you don't use up through gifting. Now, when we talk about reducing the estate, we are talking about gifting. But as you said, they don't want to lose control. So there are these special trusts that are designed called spousal lifetime access trusts, where in essence, you use an LLC to keep control of the investments, manage the investments, and make distributions. And then the non-voting shares get put into these irrevocable trusts where you have each other's spouse has access to the assets. So there's a way of getting the assets into those irrevocable trusts, which are now growing outside of your estate tax-free, while at the same time working together to keep control and use what's in those trusts.
The law firm of Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 40 years. Request your copy of Todd's brand new guide called Balancing Asset Protection and Avoiding Estate Taxes by calling 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are now selling off with yet another pullback in the tech sector, leaving the S&P 500 on pace for its fourth straight losing session. Right now, the Dow is off 0.2% or 101 points lower. S&P 500 down over 0.75% or 53 points lower. NASDAQ selling off 1.2% or 287 points. Russell 2000 is down 0.4%. 10-year Treasury yield is flat at 4.157%, and crude oil up nearly 2% higher, trading at $56.26 a barrel. Warner Brothers Discovery Board unanimously recommended shareholders reject Paramount's hostile takeover bid, saying it believes that the offer from Netflix for its studios and HBO Max streaming service is still superior. Netflix shares are climbing over 1% higher. Warner stock is down 1%, and Paramount shares falling nearly 5%. Meanwhile, according to several outlets, OpenAI is in discussions with Amazon about a potential $10 billion investment in agreement to use its AI chips. Amazon stock is up over 0.5%. Oracle's stock is sliding almost 5% following a report from the Financial Times that Blue Owl Capital won't back Oracle's $10 billion data center for OpenAI. Elsewhere, home builder Lennar reported lower than expected earnings as the housing market remained stagnant. Lennar stock is down 6%. And after today's closing bell, we'll see more tech earnings from Micron Technology. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch, and we got to do trivia, so let's get to it. And we're going to continue our Christmas movie trivia theme here up to the holiday. So here we go. In 1964's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Hermie stood out from his fellow elves because he did not like making toys. He had another profession in mind. Trivia question today: what profession did Hermie the Elf wish he had? Once again, what profession did Hermie the Elf wish he had? Be the seventh person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with the keyword trivia. You win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, the seventh correct response to text us to the number 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with the keyword trivia, will win that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
The latest in what is going to be a fascinating media story to follow in 2026 is Warner Brothers rejecting or recommending that shareholders reject Paramount's unsolicited bid for the company, saying that they believe the Netflix proposal is superior. In their recommendation, they basically say that the Paramount offer relies on an awful lot of debt, a lot of different parties, and basically has a whole bunch of things that may prevent it from closing in a rapid fashion to satisfaction of shareholders, and that Netflix comes with a stronger balance sheet, a larger market cap, and a bunch of other features that would make it a preferred buyer for the company. So now we'll get into, kind of the next leg, which is, does Paramount come back and say, oh, in fact, instead of doing $30 a share, we'll do $32. And do we see, Netflix then try to counter with a higher offer, or, do these problems still persist? But this is, something that I don't think is just going to go quietly over the next week or two.
So who's really interested in this? Netflix subscribers because of the new content, if they simply combine it with their existing content, or
like who cares? Do you mean like from a content perspective?
Well, who cares? Like the story, it's if you follow business news, I guess this is they're not big companies. And is it an interesting industry? Well, I guess we all consume this stuff. But whose whose life will change depending on what suitor is successful, other than the principles involved.
So there's an interesting question to ask on this, which is the company that loses the bidding for this actually going to be in a better spot? And the only reason that I ask that is, and I think I have the answer, but I'm going to get there in kind of roundabout fashion.
The weave.
Warner Brothers has been sold a couple times in the last decade now. Has it worked out well for either of the companies that bought them? The answer is no. There's a reason why they're on the market again. Now, granted, we can look at AT&T, and at the time, again, Tucker can pull the Betamax or whatever it is that we store the shows on, and we can pull that, and you'll hear us saying, yeah, this seems like a bad fit. A bunch of basically utility operators trying to buy, HBO is like this crown creative jewel. Doesn't seem like a good fit. And sure enough, like it ended up having to be unwound. A couple years later, same thing happens. Okay, like you go through this again. I guess where I come to on this to a certain extent is, look, if this company were so valuable, how come it can't generate enough cash flow and profit to cover the deal and to keep its acquirer wanting to own it longer term?
They're paying too much.
Because even if you make the argument that AT&T paid too much for it, if the company is that good, they'd be able to figure out, okay, like we can make this work because we still want to own this long term. Like we don't want to sell that asset off. So why have they been sold off twice now? Isn't that an interesting question?
It's alluring, like you said.
Maybe content isn't king.
Well, I don't know. It depends on the opportunity cost. What else could AT&T have done with their capital?
I guess my point is this is not a cheap deal that is being talked. I mean, we're talking about an $80 to $100 billion deal, and how do you make that money back? You look at the deals that have worked out in the media space. It's Disney buying Star Wars for $4 billion. Just because George Lucas was like, I've had it. I'm out. No one liked my prequels, even though in hindsight, a couple of them fare better upon, reviewed watching 20 years later.
Not as easy as it looks.
But, this is something where when you're paying $80 to $100 billion for a media company. How do you make that money back? Like it's that's a lot of coin to put out there. I mean, to put this in perspective, if we look at Netflix, bless you, if we look at Netflix and their financials right now, and you say, okay, their revenue for the last year was $43 billion. Warner Brothers Discovery, you pull up their financials. Their revenue for the last year was $38 billion. How am I going to make my money back on this if their revenue is half of what I'm spending? Not their earnings. Their earnings were $356 million was their net income for the last 12 months. And I'm going to pay $70 to $100 billion for this? How do I make that back?
Well, over how long does it take to make it back?
Well, I'd like to in my lifetime, but the math doesn't work out if we're still, so it's okay. How much can I slim this down and how much can I, repackage these assets is what you get into. But I don't know. It's a tough one in that media space that is evolving rapidly. And as Netflix's own Reed Hastings has said multiple times, the biggest competition that we face isn't from other movie studios or other TV studios. It's from gaming. It's from TikTok. It's from all these other things pulling at your eyeballs. And is buying Warner Brothers Discovery actually in the best interest of either of these companies at this price? I got to be honest, that's the question that I'll ask. Like, is the loser going to actually make out better? Is this an example of the winner's curse?
What do they intend
for this deal?
Yeah, what do they intend to do with it? And how does that strike you guys as customers? I mean, are they just going to add the content and leave the fee the same for the monthly service? I mean, or are they going to?
If I were a media exec, which I'm not, and I don't really know anything about it, but I like to pretend I do. Tucker, let me run this by you.
Sure.
Let's say that I'm Netflix.
Okay.
I'm going to absorb most of the Warner Brothers Discovery content right into Netflix. But I'm going to keep HBO as a separate outlet for my premium content, and I'm going to put it on that. Because then I can charge you once for Netflix, and for the people that want that highbrow stuff, you'll pay for HBO. You will, and that's a great brand.
From a money perspective, yeah, that's probably the way they'll go. But if I want to please the consumer,
Pleasing the consumer, that's so 19...
Yeah, I know, right?
That's so 1957.
I would just have a completely separate section on Netflix for HBO, kind of similar to what Disney Plus does. If you go into Disney Plus, they have a separate section for Nat Geo or Pixar or go down the list. I mean, that's what I would love as a consumer, but you're probably right. It's not going to go that way because they'll just get more money if they leave HBO as is.
And plus, then you can also say, hey, Netflix is... What's Netflix now? Like $15, $17 for the normal?
I think it's like $15.99 a month.
So you got $15.99 there.
But
you've got $17.99 on HBO. But if you bundle, we'll do it for $25.
Yeah. And that's more attractive for a steeper discount for the consumer if it's $20.99 for HBO and Netflix.
But they're still getting an extra
deal.
$8 and more subscribers. Like that's where I think we're going.
Yeah.
In any case, this is going to be an exciting one. Again, as Marc said, like these are not huge companies. They're big, but they're not huge. But it's stuff that we see every day, in our lives, and so we understand more about this than like a merger of, two copper producers.
And the Ellisons have come upon the scene in AI
and in media.
Dramatic, like in the past couple months. Year. All of a sudden, the Ellisons are taking over the world. So it's an interesting, I guess, story from that point of view. And of course, they're getting overextended. There's a story this morning about a private credit manager pulling funding for an Oracle data center. The whole thing's becoming dramatic.
I did then see that Larry Ellison said, yeah, actually, we decided we didn't want to work with them. So you can't fire me, I quit. Okay, fine, In any case, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's do a little bit of stack roulette.
The Financial Exchange streams live on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and stay up to date on breaking business news all morning long. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
We're proud to announce that Circle K is now the official convenience store of the DAV Department of Massachusetts. At Circle K, supporting those who bravely served our country isn't just a commitment, it's a heartfelt mission. Circle K is honored to stand with the DAV Department of Massachusetts to ensure that veterans receive the care and recognition they deserve. If you'd like to do your part, please visit davma.org. Thank you for standing with Circle K and the DAV Department of Massachusetts, and thank you, veterans, for all you've done.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
When the holidays roll in and the cold settles over New England, find your escape in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Trade the freezing temps and gray skies for warm sun, turquoise water, and that easy island energy you can feel the second you land. This December through early January, St. Croix ignites with the Crucian Christmas Festival, a celebration over a century old. Frederickstead comes alive with colorful parades, live reggae, and streets filled with the sights and flavors of real Caribbean culture. It's the holiday season with a tropical beat. From there, explore St. Thomas with its duty-free shopping and the legendary views at Maggins Bay. Or slow down on St. John, where quiet beaches and national park trails make every day feel like your own private adventure. Getting there could not be easier. No passport is needed, and there's no money to exchange. Just pack light and step out of the cold into pure sunshine. This holiday season, let yourself fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Visit America's Caribbean paradise, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Go to visitusvi.com and book your trip today. That's visitusvi.com.
The Armstrong Advisory Group understands retirement planning, and when it comes to married couples, it can be about more than money. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong, and our new guide called Retirement Planning for Spouses tackles many issues that couples face as they're preparing for later life. This guide keeps things simple, focusing on important matters such as making sure both partners understand where their money's coming from in retirement, being aware of scams, how to stay organized if one spouse outlives the other, and ways to handle gifts, donations, or legacy goals as a team. It's a straightforward look at the steps every couple can take to feel confident about retirement. Call the Armstrong Advisory Group right now at 800-393-4001 to get your free copy of Retirement Planning for Spouses. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you from Senior Care USA. The average funeral now costs over $10,000. That leaves your loved ones the burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay your family up to $30,000 to help pay for your funeral and other expenses. There are no medical exams. Your rates will never increase, and your plan cannot be canceled, regardless of your medical conditions, as long as you make your premium payments. Get up to $30,000 in final expense insurance. Call now for free information. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. 800-378-3818. That's 800-378-3818.
The Financial Exchange is now available every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Stay informed about the latest from Wall Street, fiscal policy, and breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. There's still time to book your holiday vacation to St. Croix, St. Thomas, or St. John. Enjoy one or all three, and if you act fast, you can be in St. Croix to experience their Crucian Christmas Festival taking place this December through early January. Discover the magic of this long-standing tradition with incredible food, music, and entertainment, or just go soak up the sun, stroll along white sand beaches, and feel the rhythm of the heartbeat of the islands. The USVI is America's Caribbean paradise. Plan your winter escape now at visitusvi.com. That's visitusvi.com. Trivia question today was, what profession did Hermie the Elf wish he had in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? That would, of course, be a dentist. We all know that. Marc from Manchester, New Hampshire is our winner today, taking home a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Marc. And we play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Marc, what do you got for Stack Roulette?
I thought I should elaborate on what we closed out with in the last segment. I mentioned the story first reported by the Financial Times about Blue Owl Capital, which is providing a lot of funding for data centers to Oracle specifically. In this context, the story is as follows. I'll just read briefly from the Financial Times. Oracle's largest data center partner, that's Blue Owl Capital, will not back, the FT reported this morning, since all the media outlets have picked this up. You may have heard it already. Will not back a $10 billion deal for its next facility. But hard to read into this. Are they just getting better terms from somebody else, or is Blue Owl realizing that some of this might be overhyped and they don't want to get overextended? Hard to know what, if anything, to conclude from this. For me.
I think what's interesting is that they had previously committed to it and now are no longer committed to it. And to me, that comes off as, hey, we've got a lot of balls in this court already. Fine. Let's maybe not throw another one in and see how things go for a little bit. And this is one of the untalked about, undiscussed risks for next year is, look, when we talk about all this CapEx, the money has to come from somewhere, and a lot of it's been borrowing. Where, you need to keep wrangling up increasing flows in order to make this work, because the money just isn't there from operations, especially when you're talking OpenAI and Oracle. They don't have cash flow from operations to fund this. Oracle's cash flow was, negative $10 billion for? I want to make sure that I get this right, if it's the last year or last quarter. So let me just get this right. Free cash flow, negative $13 billion for the last year. Oracle cannot pay for this exponential increase in CapEx with their own money. They have to borrow it, which means that you need an exponentially increasing source of funds for them to borrow from in order to do so. That's a real risk that's out there, because there's not just this limitless source of funds. I'm a big track and field guy, just because my dad was a big track guy, all through, his life and everything. And we would have, track and field news would be what's sitting on the back of our toilet and, the bathrooms in our house. And I'm reading through world record times for, the 5,000 meters. So the analogy I make is, look, if you start off running, it's pretty easy for you to say, hey, I'm going to improve my mile time from 15 minutes to 14 minutes. It's a little harder to go from 14 to 13, and a little harder to go from 13 to 12. By the time you're trying to go from 7 to 6, it's pretty hard. By the time you're trying to go from 6 to 5, it's almost impossible, and basically no one can improve from 5 to 4. It gets exponentially harder. All this CapEx that these companies have been doing, they've basically gone from running 10-minute miles to 7-minute miles, and now they're trying to get from 7 down to 4. Do you have the actual... In this case, it's, do you have the literal energy to be able to do that? Because you got to build, your power plants and your energy supply in addition to actually the facilities. So that's kind of where we are right now on this stuff. And I don't know the answer to it, but I know that it gets harder and harder to run faster the faster you've already run. It's just it's physics in that case, or physiology in that case. But in this case, it's just basic math. There's only so much money out there. There's a reason why we're not called the United States of General Electric. It's because Jack Welch tried this over a 20-year period, and it didn't work. There's only so much money and so many people who need what GE was selling at the time.
This is a much more concentrated Gambit, though.
It is.
Gambit may be an unkind
It is,
way of
but
stating
it's got shades of like the GE stuff in it now with the financial machinations and
Shades
everything.
of all the
We do have like 4 or 5 different bubbles combined into one.
does-
The best way I've seen this described recently, it's a turducken of risk.
I'm not familiar with the word.
Turducken? You take a chicken, a turkey, and a duck, mix them together to make like...
Now I'm not ashamed that I'm not familiar with the word.
It's a turducken of risk is kind of how I've heard it explained. Let's take a quick break for the rest of the day, but we're going to be back tomorrow. We'll see you then on the Financial Exchange.